follow along this evening, and even a few things that the Fat Cat publishers at the CCAR don't want you to know about because we added them in later. But whatever it is that you use to follow along, it is just wonderful that you are here with us. We begin our service this evening on page 6 with a reading at the top of the page. I will read the first paragraph, and if you would be so kind as to read the second. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, become to the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. And it is my great pleasure to invite up Jane Townley to light our Shabbat candles. If you would like to follow along, you can do so on page 2.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. So we continue to welcome the Shabbat. We do so with some songs. Our first one will be on page 10, Hine Matov. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. And why don't we continue with the very next one on the page, Ma Yafeh Hayom. Ma Yafeh Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Turn to page 20 for Lecha Dodi. We will be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach the 9th and final verse, if you are able, I invite you to rise and turn to the entrance of whatever space you find yourself to welcome in the Sabbath bride, Bo'ikara, Bo'ikara. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemu tiferet v'letehila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki mekor haberecha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari, hitorari, Kiva orech kumi ori, Uri uri shir daberi, Vod Adonai alaik nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'b'tola, Toch emuneh am segula, Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yadadai, 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. We turn now to page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Just take a moment. If you are heading into your first high holiday season, or even if you've only been through it a few times and it's still fairly new to you, something that you may notice is that we do the Kaddish a whole bunch of times throughout the service. We do it twice on Friday nights, but it seems to appear a whole lot more during the high holidays. And one of the things that Kaddish often does is it's kind of a marker in between parts of the service and shows us that we are moving from one section to another. So in this case, our early songs are, well, they're really just kind of a warm-up. They're important, and I don't want to downplay them in any way, but they are there to help us get ready for praying in earnest in the evening. And so we do all of these songs that come from Psalms and other places that get us going. And there's similar things in the morning. There are certain blessings that we do that are supposed to help wake us up and get us ready and to the spot where we can really, really pray. And so we have one of those markers here. Now that we are sufficiently warmed up, our voices are warm, we are set. Perhaps we've gotten a nice little groove going in our seat and we're ready. We're gonna do this little transition and then of course toss the whole thing out because we will rise as we enter in the section with the Baruch Hu. So we begin together on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei kol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kariv v'meru amen. Yehesh me Rabba mevarach le'olam u'al me'amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudusha berichu Leila min kol birchata v'ashirata tushbechata v'nechemata dahamiran be'alma v'meru amen. And if you are able, I would invite you to rise for the Baruch Hu, page 28. And we are trying to get ourselves into some of the high holiday melodies, so I will try to bring a few of those and sprinkle those into our service this evening. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam We continue together in the English on page 31, in the middle of the page. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim. And we continue on the very next page with Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah umitvot, chukim umishpatim, otanu limadata. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokvenu, kumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, v'yorech yameinu. Uvahem nageyomam v'layla, nageyomam v'layla. v'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema can be found on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. We continue together with the V'ahavta, page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'vrechtecha v'derech u'shokbecha u'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'ktavtam Amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti atchem mi'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Adonai Elohechem emet. We turn now to a reading that is not in your prayer books, but is an extra one for this evening. I know the pain of slavery and the lash of the taskmaster's whip. I know the smell of the sea air on the road to the promised land, a breeze that resembles freedom. I can smell and I can differentiate between the thunder of God and the murmur of the people at the foot of the mountain. I know coming home to a place that had only been a promise, a dream. I know exile. I remember return. I know it happens again and again. I remember wandering, hoping, suffering, waiting, suffering, believing. I know God. I know God. I know. We continue with Micha Mocha, which can be found on page 40. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, Osef ele malchutecha, ra'uvanecha, bokei ayam le Moshe, Zelianu ve'amaru Adonai imlo leolam vaed v'nemar kif Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. We turn to page 42 and we read together the English. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Vishamru can be found on page 44. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, La'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. We now turn to page 46 for the Amidah. If you are able, I would invite you to please rise. Adonai sefatai tivtach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot v'Imaot, U'mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim b'chesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, sohomech noflim b'rofech olim, umatir asurim, Umkahayim emunato lishenei afar michamocha bal gevurot umidom mehelah melech memit umechayei umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. We continue silently to page 62. When you are finished or when you feel ready, please be seated. Shalom Rav can be found on page 60. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lekol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lekol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. We turn now to our Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah. We begin at the top of page 245. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai, your God. I would like to invite up Lauren and Ian to open our ark, and would invite you all to please rise. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udevar Adonai Merushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Uneromamo Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai Hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'haneka v'havod v'yikol hashamayim u'haaretz v'kol hashamayim u'haaretz Adonai Adonai Yachid ha'aseh Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Al Shlosha Devarim, Ha'olam Oneh, Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah ve'al Gemilut Hasadim, Al HaTorah ve'al Ha'avodah Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you. You may be seated. We are reading this evening from Parashat Shoftim, and it is my pleasure to invite up Jeff Gingold to chant Torah, and for our Aliyah, Ta'amod Miriam Bat Avraham V'Sara Aliyah Torah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch et Hamborach Leolam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. שופטים ושוטרים, תיתן לך בכל שעריך, אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך לשיבתך, ושפטו את העם משפטי צדק. לא תיתן משפט, לא תכיר פנים, ולא תיקח שוחד, כי השוחד יעבור עיני חכמים, ויסלח דברי צדיקים. צדק צדק תרדוף, למען תהיה וירשת את הארץ, אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. You ran away quickly, Laura, but I'm still going to give you our Misha Berach for Aliyah. Misha Berach Avutenu ve'imotenu, Avraham Yitzchak ve'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you as you have come up to Torah in honor of God and Torah. May you merit from the Holy One of blessing protection, rescue from any trouble or distress, and from any illness, minor or serious. May God send blessing and success in your every endeavor, and together with all Israel, and let us say, Amen. And a Yeshar Koach to Jeff Gingold for beautiful chanting this evening. At this time, with our Sefer Torah in our midst, we think of those in our community who need a bit of healing. Whether it is a body or a mind or of spirit, we send our good wishes to them. At this time, we are thinking of Wendy Alderman, Kathy Bartlett, Tracy Bartlett, Neil Calder, Laura Cohen, Jeffrey Four, Stephen Gould, Marlene Harris, Harvey Higdon, Laura Jawad, Kevin Knox, Dave Levine, Harav Miriam Bat Shifra Pinchas, Harav Miriam Yael Chaya Bat Sarah, Tim Ober, Judy Ramos, Ray Riker, Shirley Rutkovitz, Sarah Bat Chava, Marianne Schenker, Jessica Wadatz, Bobby Wells, Asher Zelech, Yaakov Ben Ephraim Verivka, everyone affected by the coronavirus in the Jewish and other communities of Ukraine. If there are other names that you wish to add, if you are online, I encourage you to do so if you are comfortable, by sharing their name in the comments. And if you are present here today, please do so when my eyes meet yours. For everyone in need of a bit of blessing, we offer our song of healing, Misha Berach, which can be found on page 253. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu Mekor HaBrecha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And it is now my pleasure to invite Rose and Bianca up to help address our Torah this evening. We all rise for Hagbah. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe livnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai v'yad Moshe. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Turn around the one that's here right hand. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. I forgot you wrote that. We turn to page 257. We read responsively. When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace.
Its
Highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any other person.
That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization.
Honoring
One another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties. But the study of the Torah is equal to them all, because it leads to them all.
Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do. Page 256. Eitz Chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol tivatecha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashua Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Thank you so much. You may be seated. Where there is no vision, a people perishes. So say the Proverbs. What is our vision? What do we see when we look to the future? Bayom hahu yehieh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. And on that day, God shall be one, and God's name shall be one. Whatever that means. That vision, that idea, that hope, that aspiration that we have when God's name is one is a time when we see and realize a world of justice. This is our mission. And this week we heard our charge, Tzedek, Tzedek Tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. Rabbi Leo Beck knew something about justice, or more immediately, something about injustice. Beck was the leader of the Jewish community in Germany in the 1930s. He was later imprisoned at Theresienstadt. He managed to survive the war and continued as a leader of the Jewish people, a leader in the progressive movement. He taught, he led services, he preached, and he wrote. In one of his books, The People Israel, he wrote about justice, and he wrote about the future. He wrote, "It is the straight paths of righteousness that show where the future lies." This is to say that we know what justice looks like. We know where we need to be. The Torah lays out for a vision of a just society, of a better world. There is a reason that tikkun olam, our repair of the world, is so fundamental to so many of our Jewish lives. In the Women's Commentary to the Torah, Rabbi Tamara Khan Eskenazi explains that the pursuit of justice is vital to the Israelite society, as it is now. But this is the reason why we hear the repetition of the word tzedek, the word for justice. Justice, pure justice, you shall pursue. Having a clear path to justice makes things so easy. Of course, doing the right thing is not nearly as hard as we often make it out to be. We have all the answers. They're right there in Torah. And if we don't want to read the whole things, there are bits and pieces that have filtered down to us that give us the important sense of it. Perhaps the Ten Commandments. Maybe it's do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. Or maybe you're a fan of the idea of loving your neighbor as yourself. Or maybe the old favorite, what is hateful to you, do not do to any other. That is the whole Torah, said Rabbi Hillel. These ideas resonate with us because they're true. They're clear. They are moral statements that we can live by. What more do we need? The world is full of people who do wrong, people who do not pursue justice. They deviate from the straight path, not because it is that hard to walk, but because they are looking for a shortcut, or they do not like what is waiting for them at the end. Not everyone wants justice, but we do. We want justice. We need justice because it is bigger than us. That is why Moses repeats the word tzedek. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof. Justice, justice shall you pursue. We can see it, and what is in our sight can be within our grasp. All we have to do is walk those straight paths of righteousness, the straight line to justice. Now I know what you're thinking. Justice is not a straight line. Perhaps you are wondering, what about what Dr. King taught us? That the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. For all of the righteous indignation that we see, for as much as we can view right and wrong, good and bad, as black and white, we have to admit that there is a whole lot of gray. We know from our history that an arc is not a straight line, that a march from Egypt to freedom is not from one point directly to the end. Even when we think we know where we are going, circumstances, obstacles, and our own fears take us on a much less direct route. The path from here to justice is not short. It is not direct. Perhaps that is why the word tzedek is doubled. Moses telling us justice, justice shall you pursue is more of a warning. The commentators draw our attention to the importance of justice in our lives. And they say that we say it twice because it sets up that third word, tirdof, pursuit. Justice, as important and critical and elusive as it is, must be pursued. We must take the path wherever it turns. Oh, and it will. And we must follow it. So which is it? Is justice a straight line, something we can see clearly and march towards? Or is it an arc? Is it a winding road? If our vision is so clear, and it is, we know what justice looks like, but we also know that our path is not. And are we at risk for losing our way? As the great philosopher Yogi Berra once said, you've got to be very careful if you don't know where you are going, because you might not get there. If we are to realize it, we need a vision of justice. Whether the path is straight or it is curved, it is for this reason that we understand tzedek tirdof, as emphatic, like Ibn Ezra taught us, or as the Ramban suggests, we pursue justice in this world so that we may know it in the next. We pursue justice in our daily lives. We act with morality, and we have innumerable opportunities every day to bring justice and righteousness into the world. It permeates our business practices and our relationships. It means, as the Torah says, that the magistrates and the judges are to govern with due justice. It means that our leaders and our elections and our government must be just. Justice can only exist if it exists at every level. Justice requires our participation and our efforts. But we can and often have to take our time getting there. It is too important not to pursue to the end. And the truth is that even a straight path to justice is not always the end. Half measures and half-won freedom are only half of our pursuit. It is important to see how far we have come, but essential that we also see how much further we can go. Our justice today is not what it once was, nor what it could be tomorrow. Justice is a trajectory. Even someone like Rabbi Beck, who saw the depths of injustice and saw the most horrifically bent arc, believed that we work for the good for that day, and at the same time, for the better for the days to come. We understand that there is no state of perfect justice because we are always learning new things, seeing subtleties, and the world and circumstances are always changing. If we think we have perfect justice, then we didn't set our ideals high enough. And whether we have gotten there on a clear and straight path or on a winding way through the wilderness, we are not done. Our work is not done. It is not justice if we have to compromise on the end result. It is not justice if not everyone can claim that they feel it applies to them. It is not justice when there is more work to be done. The last reminder of this is yet another way to understand this command, justice. Justice shall you pursue. Why does the verse repeat itself? Asked Rabbi Simcha Bunim. Is there a just justice and an unjust justice? Indeed there is, he says. The Torah is telling us to be just also in the pursuit of justice. Justice, he explains, is both the means and the end. The road is not straight or smooth or easy, but our vision and our goals remain. Tzedek tirdof, the pursuit of justice, pure justice. Shabbat shalom. We turn now to the Aleinu, which is at the bottom of page 282, and it is my pleasure to invite up Leah and Lavelle to open our ark doors. If you are able, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Page 287. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Thank you. May be seated. We think now of our loved ones whom death has taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. At this time, we remember Deidre Ann Mullen, Terry Gregory, Grayson Corbett, Joan F. Nutkin, Gerald Kaufman, Andrew Venuti, Lucille Alexander, Stanley Browdy, Edna Bailey, Jenna Deborah Danif Cassell, Will Spiegelman, Leonard Fusari, James Holly, Ken Hecht, Roberta Small-Reish, Edward Gingold, Cookie Javinsky, Carl Weinberg, Al Grossman, Jeff Blank, Richie Zorn. And this Shabbat, we commemorate the yartzites of Rochelle Brandman, Peggy Carter, William Heerman, Paula Moses, Max Minnick, Salm Fox, Sherwin Sider, Meyer Silvershare, Simon Davis, J.T. Cassell, Sidney J. Katz, Bonnie LaRose, Sophie Wiener, and Alice J. Body. If there are other names that you wish to remember, if you are online, I encourage you to do so in the comments. And if you are present here, please do so when my eyes meet yours. All those souls, Kaddish Yatom, can be found on page 294. If it is your custom, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'mei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, v'yithale, v'yithalal, shmei dekudisha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all who mourn, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. Laura, I wonder if we could ask of you to share some announcements this evening.
All right, if you are joining us in person tonight, please stay a little bit for the grab and go nag graciously provided by Jeff Gingold and Jane Townley tonight. If you are joining us online, please stick around for the Yismazoom, graciously hosted by Laura and Chris Ashkin online. It is a holiday weekend, but that does not let you off the hook for Torah study, which is tomorrow promptly at 10. They are all the way up to Genesis 45:21. If you would like details, they are at sinarino.org/Torah study. If you are here in person, you can also, I'm sure, ask Deborah in the back for details. This Sunday, there is a chalk drawing contest here. I don't know what the details of that drawing would be, but I'm sure you're welcome. Okay.
Each of our religious school classes and anyone else who would like to join will be given a square out on the sidewalk and can decorate it with any sort of Jewish text or story or imagery that we want. And what we're hoping is that when everyone comes for the high holidays, our front walk is filled with all sorts of beautiful, colorful images to teach and delight and bring a little bit more beauty into this holiday season.
I love it. Okay, second grade class, coming in hot, taking competitors. 9:30 Sunday, please join us for the weekday family tefillah service. It is quite charming and toddler friendly. I can personally attest. It is very nice and about a half an hour. And at 12:30, it is the, I think, first of a 4-part series from Jen Wolfe. It is called From Aging to Saging. It is an adult education program for the month of Elul on aging with purpose and Jewish wisdom. It is via Zoom, and details are online, or there is a poster somewhere in the lobby for you. The office is closed for Labor Day. Wednesday, we are delighted to have a challah baking class with the talented chef Jane Townley. It is in the Temple Sinai kitchen, which is super close, and you should come. And then I will see you next Friday, September 9th for services. I'm leading, so please come and bring your singing voices, so I'm not here alone. And then next weekend on Saturday in the evening, 7:30, is the first of our special Havdalah services this year. There should be a series of once a month Havdalah services. This one is presented by it doesn't say. I thought it was the library committee. It might be the library committee. But they are bringing in author Michael Yule here to speak on Betty Rosenfeld, and then there will be a little candles and juice and ending of Shabbat together, and it should be lovely. All right, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you, Rabbi.
Our closing, let's see. This night we are closing with Adon Olam, which can be found on page 321. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefso kol azai maleh shemo nikra v'yacharei kilot hakol levado imlok nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh V'hu yeh b'tifara, v'hu echad v'ein sheni, lehamshilo lehachbira, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'od v'hamizra, v'hu eli v'chai goali, v'tzur chevli v'etzara, V'hu nisi umanos li, manad kosi b'yom ekra, biyado avkid ruchi, b'yeti shan v'ayira, v'im ruchi giviyati, Adonai li v'lo ira. And if you will turn to page 5, Baruch Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon Inchilanu zikaron lemase v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziyat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta Mikol Hamim V'Shabbat Kodecha Be'ahava Uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you to all. Thank you to Jeff and Jane for the wonderful oneg. Thank you to Laura as our grader, and thank you to Rob for tech. Shabbat Shalom. I will see you out there.